Welcome to the eerie hour. Some places don't just haunt you, they wait. They settle deep into the earth, beneath crumbling stone and forgotten pathways, holding their breath until something stirs the dust. This place, the husk of the old Blackwood Asylum, has waited a long time. Its reputation precedes it, a shadow cast long after the doors were sealed, whispered in hushed tones on damp nights. But whispers only fuel curiosity for those who chase the ghosts of architecture, the thrill of claiming ground the world has abandoned. If you enjoy descending into the strange and the forgotten, don't forget to like and subscribe and share your theories below. Now let's begin. But remember, once the story starts, something always follows. The air bites instantly, sharp and cold, carrying the heavy, sweet smell of damp earth, and something else, something sour and ancient. It settles in your lungs, a physical weight. Before you, half hidden by a collapse of moss-covered stone and tangled briars beneath the main bulk of the asylum ruins, is the sealed entrance. It's not a main doorway, but a low archway, barely tall enough to stand in, bricked up crudely decades ago. A forgotten exit tunnel, the maps whispered, used for supplies or maybe something else. Elias runs a hand over the rough brick, dust puffing onto his glove. A strange symbol is scratched deeply into one of the bricks near the base, jagged lines forming something that looks almost like a broken key or a distorted human figure. Another is etched higher up, then another. Scattered, seemingly at random. They weren't on the Urban Exploration Forum's photos. Dread, cold, and thin begins to weave through the initial thrill of discovery. You duck under the low arch, the others following. Beams from your headlamps cutting through the thick, absolute darkness. The temperature drops further, biting into exposed skin. Your breath hangs thick and white before you, slow, deliberate plumes in the dead air. Each exhaled breath feels like a visible surrender to the cold, a part of you leaving your body. The silence here is unnatural, not just absence of sound, but a presence of its own, pressing in from all sides. Only the soft shuffle of boots on packed dirt and the faint rhythmic drip, drip, drip of water somewhere ahead break the oppressive stillness. But then, a sound that isn't water, isn't boots, faint, distant, a dragging, scraping noise that seems to come from deep within the tunnel, too rhythmic to be natural. It stops abruptly, plunging you back into the heavy silence. Elias glances at you, eyes wide in the beam of his lamp. Sarah grips your arm, fingers cold even through your jacket. The symbols on the brick fade behind you as you move deeper, but their jagged shapes seem to linger at the edge of your vision, like phantom scratches on the darkness itself. This place doesn't feel forgotten. It feels deliberately hidden, and the air here remembers. The tunnel narrows, the walls closing in, rough-hewn stone pressing claustrophobically. The dripping sound grows louder, a steady, maddening rhythm that pounds in your ears, yet you see no source, no visible water trail on the dry earth floor. The air thickens, carrying that same sour, earthy decay, but now overlaid with a metallic tang, like old blood or rusted iron. Elias, usually the most practical of the group, stops dead, his lamp beam fixed on the tunnel floor. There, partially obscured by dust, is another symbol, identical to the ones outside, etched into the stone itself. Then another, further in, closer to the wall. They aren't random. They form a winding trail leading deeper into the dark. Your stomach tightens. This isn't just vandalism. It feels like a deliberate path, or maybe a warning. As you follow the symbols, the tunnel begins a slow, imperceptible descent. The air pressure feels different, heavier. The quality of the darkness shifts, becoming somehow richer, more absolute. The scraping sound returns, closer this time, just ahead, faint but distinct, followed by another sound, a low guttural exhale. You stop, heart hammering against your ribs. Elias raises a hand, signaling silence. He clicks off his lamp. Sarah's breathing is ragged beside you. In the sudden, profound blackness, the dripping sound is all there is, the steady, inescapable drip, drip, drip. But beneath it, barely audible, is that exhale again, closer. You feel a prickle of cold sweat on your neck, the irrational certainty that you are not alone down here. The symbols on the floor seem to glow faintly in the residual light of your mind's eye, marking this descent, this intrusion. Doubt begins to fester, quiet and insidious. Are you urban explorers, or simply trespassers in a place that guards its secrets with something more than locked doors? The air feels charged, waiting for you to make a sound, make a move. It's like walking into a breath held for decades. You click your lamp back on, the sudden burst of light making the darkness recoil, but offering little comfort. The scraping sound is gone again, vanished as if it was never there, leaving only the relentless dripping. Ahead, the tunnel opens slightly into a small chamber. The symbols cover the walls here, scratched in frantic, overlapping patterns, dense and chaotic. They writhe under your lamplight, a language you don't understand but feel deep in your bones. In the center of the chamber, leaning against the far wall, is a mirror. Not a grand, ornate thing, but a simple, rectangular mirror in a warped, stained wooden frame, like something salvaged from a forgotten room. It's angled slightly towards the tunnel entrance, towards you. You approach it cautiously, your reflection appearing in the dusty glass. Your face is pale, eyes wide with apprehension. Elias and Sarah stand behind you, reflected figures distorted by the mirror's age and grime. But then, your reflection shifts. Your eyes in the glass seem to track something just beyond your shoulder, something not visible in the real world. A slow, vacant smile spreads across your reflected face, a smile you aren't making. Elias gasps beside you. You spin around, scanning the empty chamber and the tunnel behind you. Nothing. Only the oppressive silence, the steady drip, 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 and the frantic symbols clawed into the stone. The symbols on the mirror's frame seem to be the same ones, integrated into the wood grain. Your own reflection in the glass felt utterly alien, a stranger wearing your face. Was that just fatigue? Or did something look back? The moment shatters. You blink, and the reflection in the mirror is normal again. Your own frightened eyes staring back. Elias and Sarah are just their own reflections, their faces etched with fear, matching yours. Yet, the feeling of being watched persists, a cold weight pressing on your chest. The scraping sound returns, louder this time, seemingly from the walls themselves, a low, grinding noise that vibrates through the stone and into your teeth. It moves around the chamber, encircling you, then seems to retreat back down the tunnel you came from. Sarah whimpers softly. Elias shines his lamp wildly, but finds nothing, no explanation. The symbols on the walls seem to deepen before your eyes, their lines becoming more pronounced, almost pulsing with a faint inner light that isn't from your lamp. You feel a dizzying wave of disorientation, the sense that the chamber is tilting, the air growing thin. A whisper brushes past your ear, cold and sharp, in a language you can't place, yet you understand the intent. Leave. The whisper is faint, like a forgotten memory trying to surface. But it ignites a primal terror that seizes your limbs, makes your breath catch in your throat. The mirror on the wall seems to deepen, the glass turning from dusty silver to an inky blackness, reflecting nothing but the frantic symbols clawed into the stone around it. It's as if the glass has become a void, sucking in all light, all presence. Is the darkness in the mirror a reflection of the tunnel ahead? Or something else entirely? The air here is thick with things that refuse to show themselves. The push to leave is sudden, overwhelming. Elias stumbles back into the tunnel, almost falling. Sarah is already scrambling past him, breathing in ragged gasps. You turn from the mirror, forcing yourself to move, the unnatural blackness of its glass seared into your vision. The symbols on the walls seem to mock you, their jagged lines now feeling like chains or bindings, holding something vast and terrible just beyond sight. The scraping sound is ahead now, leading the way back out, but it's faster, more frantic, like something is eagerly clearing the path. You move quickly, stumbling over the uneven ground, the tunnel feeling much longer than it did on the way in. The damp air feels colder, leaching warmth directly from your bones. The distant drip, drip, drip is gone, replaced by a new sound, a low harmonic hum that seems to resonate from the stone itself, a vibration that makes your teeth ache. The symbols on the floor leading back feel different now, less like markers and more like a trail left for something. Your mind races, trying to rationalize the shifting reflection, the scraping, the whisper. Was it psychosomatic, the famous asylum effect? But the hum feels too real, too physical. It feels like the tunnel itself is singing. Your sense of self begins to fray at the edges. The fear is so profound, it feels like a separate entity riding on your back. You pass another symbol scratched into the wall near the tunnel floor, and this time, it looks less like a broken key and more like a stylized mouth, open in a silent scream. This is not just a place. It feels like a trap being reset. Emerging from the tunnel is a shock. The late afternoon light is blinding. The familiar world outside the ruin feeling unreal, flimsy. The smell of damp earth is still there, clinging to your clothes, but the sour, metallic tang is gone. Elias and Sarah stand blinking in the light, pale and shaken. The briars around the archway seem thicker, more tangled than before. You look for the symbols scratched into the bricks near the entrance, the first ones you saw. They are gone. Not faded, not covered by dust, but simply absent, the bricks smooth and unmarked. A wave of confusion washes over you, cold as the air inside. You distinctly remember seeing them, pointing them out. Did you imagine it? The scraped symbols on the stone floor inside, however, are real, etched into the earth. They were leading somewhere, or maybe leading something out. The silence outside the tunnel feels different now, not peaceful, but expectant. The distant sounds of the world, a bird call, the rustle of leaves, seem muted, far away. The air, though warmer, still carries the residue of the tunnel's cold. You glance back at the low archway, the dark mouth of the tunnel. It looks smaller now, less significant, almost mundane. But you know what lies within, the shifting reflections, the sounds that defy explanation, the symbols that vanish and reappear. The hum seems to linger in your ears, a low, unsettling frequency that won't dissipate. The symbols feel less like markers of the past and more like a prophecy. What was left behind in that tunnel and what followed you out? The journey back from the ruins is quiet, heavy with unspoken unease. The light fades, the sky turning a deep, bruised purple. Each shadow seems deeper, holds a fraction more substance. The memory of the tunnel settles over you, a cold, damp weight that refuses to lift. The distinct scent of wet earth and that faint, metallic tang seems to cling to you, a phantom presence. The scraping sound is gone, replaced by a dull ache in your teeth, a residual echo of that strange harmonic hum. You look at your reflection in the car window as you drive. It looks tired, drawn, but entirely your own. The image of the distorted smile, the empty eyes in the mirror, feels like a bad dream, a trick of the light and exhaustion. But the symbols were real inside. Their absence outside is what disturbs you most, the impossible vanishing act. What did they mean? A ward? A trap? Or maybe an invitation now accepted? The symbol that looked like a scream, like an open mouth, flashes in your mind. The recurring motif feels less like a clue and more like a brand, marking you as something that has passed through. The questions linger, cold and sharp. What followed you out? Did you close the door behind you, or hold it open just a crack? And if you hear it again tonight, don't answer. Not yet. You descend deeper into the tunnel. The entrance, a fading patch of less than darkness, shrinks above you, swallowed by the stone. The passage narrows, forcing you to walk single file, brushing against the rough-hewn rock on either side. The air grows colder, heavier, thick with a stillness that feels unnatural, like breath held too long in a confined space. Sensory details intensify, pressing in. Your fingertips trail along the wall. It is not just rough, but raw, abrasive, scraping against skin like dried bone. Water drips somewhere ahead, unseen, each distinct plink echoing disproportionately in the sudden silence your steps create. And the smell, growing stronger now, undeniable, is metallic and stale, like old blood left to rust, overlaid with something else, something damp and earthy and profoundly wrong. The distant sounds from Section 1, the ones that drew you forward, become clearer, more distinct, yet no less elusive. Whispers, yes, but they seem to trail off or rearrange themselves into unintelligible murmurs just as you try to focus, like static that resolves into sense for a split second before collapsing again. Then there is the faint, rhythmic scraping. It is not distant anymore. It seems to emanate from the very stone around you, a slow, deliberate drag that sets your teeth on edge. It sounds like something heavy being pulled across rough ground, endlessly. This rhythmic abrasion, so clear, yet emanating from everywhere and nowhere at once, feels less like an echo and more like a constant presence moving just beyond sight, the core anomaly now drawing breath beside you. The motif twists, deepening its hold. Shadows cling to the narrow space, not just simple darkness, but shifting, hungry shapes that seem to writhe at the periphery of your vision. multiplying the single passage into a maze of implied corridors. Your own breath feels amplified, loud and ragged in the oppressive quiet, and you catch phantom breaths just behind you, echoes that have no source. The air itself seems to breathe with you, a slow, cold intake and exhalation that chills you to the bone. Mentally, the mild apprehension that nudged you forward has curdled into palpable unease. Your skin prickles, a visceral reaction to the suffocating pressure of the descent. The first seeds of doubt take root, insidious and cold. You look ahead into the unending dark, then back at the fading light above. This tunnel, it extends far, far beyond any reasonable expectation. It feels carved not just into the earth, but into something deeper, something that shouldn't be reached. Doubt gnaws. Doubt about the purpose of this place. Doubt about the sounds that seem to orchestrate themselves around you. Doubt about whether the darkness ahead holds an end, or merely more of itself stretching into an impossible distance. What is this place, and what does the unending scraping signify? You stumble slightly, your hand reaching out to steady yourself against the wall. As you do, your fingers close not on rock, but on something small, smooth, and utterly out of place, tucked into a small crevice. You pull it free, holding it up in the faint light filtering from behind. It is a single, intricately carved wooden button, the kind from a child's coat, pristine and untouched by the damp, gritty air. It feels warm in your cold hand, a stark anomaly in this ancient, unyielding darkness, a quiet question mark hanging in the heavy air. The tunnel narrows, the rough-hewn rock giving way to a strange, smooth surface that feels cool and slightly yielding beneath your fingertips. You walk toward the fading light ahead, expecting the bite of outside air, the relief of the sky. But the passage doesn't open to the outside. It turns sharply, then widens into something else entirely. Not a chamber, not a tunnel's end, but a sprawling, impossible space. It's a network of smaller passages, some ending abruptly in sheer walls, others leading into darkness that swallows the beam of your flashlight. The geometry here is wrong. Corners don't meet properly, walls curve in ways that defy logic, and the floor seems to tilt subtly, just enough to unsettle your balance. The air shifts dramatically. It's unnaturally warm, humid, and carries a cloying, sickening scent, like decaying flowers and old metal mixed with something profoundly organic and wrong. It coats your tongue, making it hard to breathe normally. This is the vivid atmospheric detail, thick and suffocating. You take shallow breaths, trying to avoid the stench. Then the dread arrives. Not a creeping unease, but a sudden, visceral strike to the core. It hits each of you differently, but with the same crushing weight. For Sarah, it's the memory of a hushed lie told years ago, echoing now with the intensity of a scream. For Thomas, it's the cold dread of something he failed to prevent, a moment of inaction that feels monstrous in this heavy air. It's a sudden, intense feeling of dread that specifically targets unresolved guilt or fear. You feel your own past regrets surface, sharp and agonizing, amplified by the strange resonance of the space. This is the central supernatural, uncanny event, deeply psychological. Mirrors dot the space, not mounted mirrors, but shards embedded in the strange walls, or tall, freestanding panels angled unnaturally. This is the recurring symbolic motif. They don't show a true reflection. Your image is stretched, distorted, your face twisted into expressions of horror or accusation. peripheral vision catches movement in the warped glass, fleeting shapes, figures that aren't there when you turn your head. Sarah cries out, stumbling back from a mirror that seemed to show her standing beside someone she buried long ago, their face contorted in silent judgment. The fear manifests as minor panic among the group. Sarah is openly trembling, tears streaming down her face as she whispers apologies to the empty air. Thomas snaps, his voice sharp with irritation and fear. "Stop it, Sarah. There's nothing there." This is the emotional psychological fracture, fear twisting into panic and defensiveness. But his own reflection in a nearby shard seems to sneer back at him, mirroring the accusation he feels from within. You feel the urge to lash out too, or perhaps just curl into a ball and let the guilt consume you. In a recess formed by two impossibly angled walls, a larger mirror stands. Its surface is cracked, but relatively clear. It doesn't reflect the immediate surroundings. Instead, it seems to hold a static image, faded and indistinct, like an old photograph viewed through rippling water. You lean closer, trying to decipher the forms, figures in clothing from a different era, perhaps standing near a structure that resembles parts of this strange space. It's a fleeting glimpse, a phantom image held captive by the glass, hinting at the tunnel's original purpose or a past tragedy connected to it, revealing a darker lore. The air feels colder near this mirror, the sickening scent replaced by something musty, stagnant. An ambiguous line forms in your mind, whispered by the space itself or your own fearful heart. The mirrors don't show you. They show what's trapped with you. You turn back. The path you walked just moments ago should be clear, familiar. Yet the air shifts. It hangs thick and heavy, pressing in on you like a physical weight, yet simultaneously carries a bone-deep chill that feels utterly wrong. The expected landmarks, the jagged stone that jutted like a broken tooth, the damp patch on the ceiling that wept continuously, they are simply not there. The passage seems to stretch, becoming an endless, winding tube that doubles back on itself without reason. Sounds warp. Your own footsteps are muffled, soft thuds swallowed by the close confines, but the echoes of distant drips, like slow, deliberate clock ticks, are piercingly sharp. There's a low hum beneath it all, a sound like ancient static electricity, crackling at the edge of your hearing. It makes the fine hairs on your arms stand on end. Beside you, Maya shivers, pulling her jacket tighter. But Finn walks on, seemingly unaffected, his pace steady, almost too steady. Then the voices begin. Not your companions' actual voices, but echoes, twisted imitations whispering your name from passages that aren't there, or urging you down side tunnels you know were sealed. "This way," a voice whispers, sounding exactly like Maya, but it comes from the solid rock wall. "Over here," says another, like Finn, from the darkness pooling ahead. You feel a sudden, intense pressure on your chest, as if someone is leaning against you, cold and invisible. The feeling of being watched is no longer just an idea. It is a suffocating presence that follows the curve of your spine. The shadows deepen, becoming corporeal. They cling to the walls, yes, but sometimes they seem to detach. Just for a second, a patch of darkness peels away from the stone, elongating into something that shouldn't be before snapping back. One such shadow, darker than night, seems to pool around Finn's feet. He doesn't seem to notice. You look at Maya, her eyes wide with fear, mirroring your own growing dread. She points, a trembling finger aimed at a point behind Finn. It moved, she whispers, her voice thin and strained. Finn stops, turning slowly. What moved? There's nothing here, he says, his voice calm, perhaps too calm. Is he pretending? Is he blind to it? Or is he somehow part of this? A creeping suspicion, cold as the phantom pressure, begins to bloom in your gut. You check the small, worn compass you carry, a simple, reliable thing. The needle spins wildly, then settles, pointing directly back the way you came. But that direction is now solid rock, the path gone. The shadows around Finn seem to deepen, elongating slightly. Reaching out towards you and Maya, the air smells faintly of ozone and something else, something sickly sweet and metallic. You realize you can't remember the moment you decided to turn back, only the sudden, overwhelming urge to do so. You look at Finn again. His eyes hold a strange, blank look you haven't seen before. You feel the floor beneath you shift subtly, like sinking into sand. Was the decision to retreat truly yours? Or was it whispered into your mind, like the phantom voices in the dark? Welcome to the eerie hour. Some places don't just haunt you, they wait. This house, settled deep where the woods press close and the air hangs heavy, feels like one such place. Its windows are like blind eyes, staring out at nothing you can see, and the silence within its walls is louder than any storm. There are whispers here, faint and ancient, beneath the floorboards, behind the peeling wallpaper. A chill permeates the air, not from draft or season, but from something that has settled deep, something that has made itself at home in the darkness. If you enjoy descending into the strange and the forgotten, don't forget to like and subscribe, and share your theories below. Now, let's begin. But remember, once the story starts, something always follows. Beneath the house, where the foundations groan and the earth breathes a cold, damp sigh, lies a place that shouldn't exist. You found it behind a wall that wasn't there yesterday. Or perhaps it was, and you just didn't see it. The opening is rough-hewn, leading down into palpable blackness. The air rising from it is not merely cold, but empty, as if it has forgotten what warmth or light feels like. Hesitation is a heavy weight in your chest, a leaden anchor against the invisible current pulling you forward. Your fingers brush against the frame of the opening, finding not wood or stone, but something slick and unyielding, like old bone. A faint smell drifts up, not of damp soil, but something metallic, like rust and forgotten blood. There is no sound from within, only the pounding of your own heart and a strange, high-pitched whine that seems to vibrate in your teeth, not your ears. You clutch the old key you found near the opening, its metal cool and smooth against your sweaty palm. It feels significant, though you have no lock in mind. It just fits here, somehow. It belongs to the silence, to the dark earth below. Stepping through the opening feels less like entering a new space and more like being swallowed. The light from above is instantly consumed, leaving you blind and alone in the absolute absence of vision. The air grows heavier, pressing in, making each breath a conscious effort. There is a floor beneath your feet, solid dirt that crumbles slightly underfoot. But the walls feel infinite, stretching away into an impossible distance or pressing suffocatingly close. You take a tentative step forward. The sound of your boot scraping against the earth, unnaturally loud in the profound quiet. A sense of profound isolation washes over you, A sudden, chilling doubt about whether anyone knows where you are, or if they would even remember you were gone. The silence answers, vast and indifferent, confirming a terrible loneliness. You move deeper into the tunnel, if tunnel it is, the path winding in ways that defy logic. It's not a straight shot through the earth. The passage curves and angles unpredictably, sometimes narrowing to a crawl, sometimes opening into vast, echoing spaces that vanish into darkness. The air here is different now, carrying a faint, sour scent that tickles the back of your throat, like spoiled milk or stagnant water left too long in metal. You drag a hand along the wall for guidance, expecting damp earth, but the texture changes erratically, slick and slimy one moment, rough like bark the next, then strangely yielding, like pressing into cold dough. It feels wrong, fundamentally unnatural. Ahead, or perhaps beside you, depending on how the passage has twisted, you hear a sound. It is a soft, rhythmic scraping, like fingernails dragging across stone, slow and deliberate. It begins and ends without pattern, a punctuation mark in the heavy quiet. This scraping sound is not just noise. It feels directed, purposeful, as if someone or something is intentionally carving the passage as you walk through it. A cold wave of fear washes over you, sharp and paralyzing. You stop, straining your ears, but the sound ceases the moment you do. Silence rushes back in, thick and suffocating. Looking back, the opening you entered through is gone, swallowed by the curving walls, or simply no longer there. Panic begins to bubble, a frantic need to turn, to run back, but the direction is lost. You are already disoriented, already questioning the path behind you. Was it really there? The old key is still in your hand, its presence a small, cold comfort, but now you notice something strange. Drawn on the wall beside you, faint in the oppressive darkness, are symbols made of white chalk, stylized depictions of keys, large and small, twisted and elongated, forming a disturbing pattern that repeats down the passage. They seem to hum with a low, inaudible frequency that makes your teeth ache. It feels less like drawing, more like a message intended for no one. The passage narrows again, forcing you to squeeze through. The walls here are rough, almost abrasive, yet they still seem to shift and breathe under your touch. The air is cloying, thick with a smell now undeniably sweet and deeply, nauseatingly rotten. The scraping sound is closer now, just ahead, but it's joined by something else. A low, wet chuckle that echoes strangely, as if coming from inside your own head. You press on, compelled by a mixture of dread and a perverse curiosity, rounding a corner into a space that opens out slightly. And there, set into the earth wall where no door should be, is a small, dark aperture, like a keyhole twisted into a grotesque shape. It is too small to see through, too small for anything practical, yet it pulses with a faint internal light, a sickly green glow. The keyhole pulses, and the air around it feels charged, electric. A voice, thin and reedy, seems to emanate from the earth itself, or from within the swirling green light. It whispers your name, but warped and distorted, like a sound pulled through stagnant water. A wave of profound confusion hits you. Your purpose for being here, for entering this place, feels suddenly flimsy, unreliable. Were you looking for something? For someone? The memory is hazy, distorted by the oppressive atmosphere. Doubt begins to gnaw at you, not just about your purpose, but about everything that led you here. Did you really find this place, or were you led? Were you alone when you came, or was there someone else? The memory fractures, splitting into conflicting possibilities. The stylized keys drawn on the walls seem to writhe in the periphery of your vision, and you realize they aren't just chalk. They are etched into the very substance of the rock, veins of dark material forming the shapes. The old key in your hand suddenly feels heavier, warmer, somehow wrong. It feels like it doesn't belong to you, but to this place. Entering this space feels less like progress and more like forgetting who you were before. You are lost. The tunnel is a malicious puzzle, walls melting and reforming behind you, paths twisting back on themselves. There is no forward or backward, only within. Sensory input is a carnival of cruel illusions. The walls, rough stone one moment, are suddenly slick and yielding like damp velvet under your hand. Then, gritty like fine sand that sloughs away to nothing. The air tastes of copper and something like ozone, then shifts to the sickening sweetness of decay, then the crisp, impossible scent of burning leaves. Sounds overlap and conflict. The distant, mournful sound of ocean waves crashing on a non-existent shore mixes with the close, wet scraping and the reedy chuckle that now seems to follow your every step. The paranormal core of this place is not external. It has become internal, feeding on your own mind. The tunnel manifests your deepest fears environmentally. A primal terror of enclosure makes the walls press suffocatingly close, their texture mimicking the cold, hard surface of a coffin lid. A buried regret, a lie told years ago, causes the air to thicken with shame, tasting like ash. Memories flicker like faulty lamps. Faces of loved ones appear briefly in the texture of the stone, only to dissolve into mocking patterns of keyholes. A wave of profound guilt washes over you, heavy and suffocating, triggered by the sudden, clear memory of a moment you wish you could undo. You begin to question everything: the existence of the outside world, the reality of anyone you knew. Even your own name feels foreign on your tongue. This is a psychological break, a splintering of self under the pressure of the impossible. The motif of keys is inescapable now. They don't just appear on the walls. They are in the walls, forming the very grain of the stone, the patterns in the damp fabric. The air seems to shimmer with their shape. For a horrifying moment, you see it, a fleeting vision through the shifting walls. Figures, distorted and elongated, embedded in the stone, their faces stretched in silent screams, their bodies woven from tangled threads of forgotten memories and keys. Millions of keys. This is what happens here. This is what the tunnel is. The tunnel doesn't hold you. It remembers you, and it weaves you into its structure. The shifting slows. The frantic rearrangement of the tunnel ceases, leaving you in a space that feels final, or at least paused. It is quiet again, but it is not the indifferent silence from the beginning. This is a heavy, weighted quiet, thick with the residue of what has just happened. The air still carries a faint, lingering taste of salt and regret. You stand amidst walls that are now still, though their surfaces still seem to ripple in your peripheral vision. The memory of the embedded figures, of the faces trapped within the structure made of keys, is seared into your mind. It is impossible to shake. Exhaustion weighs you down. a physical manifestation of the psychological ordeal. Your thoughts are scattered, fragmented. Was it real? Were you truly lost, or merely shown a reflection of your own fears? The identity crisis lingers, the uncertainty of memory, a raw wound in your mind. You look at your hands, as if expecting to see them woven with key shapes. The old key you carried is gone, vanished perhaps when the walls shifted last. Or maybe it was never truly there. But then you see it, lying on the damp earth at your feet. Not one of the rusty, stylized keys from the walls, but a single, smooth, perfectly formed key of polished brass. It wasn't there a moment ago. It feels cool and solid as you pick it up, undeniably real. It fits no lock you know, opens no door you can see. But its presence is an answer and a question, a tangible piece of the intangible horror. The quiet wraps around you, a new kind of isolation, burdened by the knowledge of what this place holds, what it is. The outside world feels impossibly far away, thin and fragile compared to the solid, terrible reality of the tunnel that remembers. The key is a reminder, a mark left upon you. And if you hear it again tonight, don't answer. Not yet. The light is blinding, a white sheet torn through the perpetual gloom. You pull yourself toward it, muscles screaming, hope a fragile, foolish thing blooming in your chest. But the air, it doesn't smell of rain or pine. It smells of damp plaster and static electricity, a faint, metallic tang you've grown to associate with the deep places. You breach the surface, blinking against the glare. This is not the sky you remember. Above you, stars sprawl like spilled glitter, too numerous, too large, arranged in constellations that make no sense. They pulse with a cold internal light. The ground beneath you isn't solid earth, but shifts subtly like thick, dark cloth pulled taut. This feels like outside, looks like outside in a child's fever dream. This isn't freedom. The horror settles quietly, not with a scream, but with the soft click of a lock. The tunnel didn't end. It folded, expanded, became this. Or perhaps you realize with chilling clarity you have become part of it. The low hum that permeated the deep passages isn't distant anymore. It vibrates in your bones, in the strange, cold light of the impossible stars. You sit here now, on the shifting fabric of whatever this is. The struggle is over. There is only watching. You think of the others. The whispers you heard fade into the hum. Did they reach their own exits? Did they too step into a place that was only a different kind of tunnel? Or did they dissolve, their echoes absorbed into the endless stone and dust? Their fates are unknowable now, less than whispers against this all-consuming presence. The tunnel's influence isn't a haunting, it's a state of being. You are not outside. You are merely in a larger chamber, the motif of the low hum, the only constant in a reality bent out of shape. Your own body feels less solid now, merging with the strange ground, the light, the hum. This isn't living, it isn't dying, it is continuing, an altered state, permanent. Resignation is a comfortable cloak, and if you hear it again tonight, don't answer, not yet.